You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. It's a beautiful day here in colorful Colorado. Love being up here. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm happy to be here sitting next to you, grateful to be next to you, as there's lots that I have learned from you, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, that's a ditto. I've learned a lot too. Not just saying it.
Well, the learning never stops, as they say. So
I hope not.
Well, let's get into today's show. We got a great question today regarding SEO. And actually, I think this is going to be incredibly insightful information for our listeners. Something that I don't think is talked about a lot. And I actually see other flight schools implementing this plan instead of giving their students and members the information to do it. And I think it's a great tell for true goals of companies, meaning that like what we're going to be talking about is SEO for your website, for your for DSPs, for these smaller companies, and what can you do in order to improve that SEO, as our caller has a question regarding paying for someone to do their SEO. And I think essentially what we're going to do is a COGS analysis on that and showcase, well, what are you getting? What is it potentially going to cost you? What is the outcome, etc. Because when it comes to SEO, I think that there are a lot of things that you can really do to boost yourself and your business and get business organically, like kind of like having a store on a major highway or a major road. There's a lot that you can do. And when I see people in the industry doing this for themselves rather than teaching it to their students, obviously, as you guys know me, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. So I think the best way to counter that is by providing the information to you guys direct for free. So I think, I hope this really helps. And let's just get right into today's question, which is brought to you by our sponsor, Props Flight School. For many of you listening for a long time, you know that Drone U started an additional flight school called Props Flight School. Now, Props Flight School really doesn't have any competition because it doesn't exist. There are no other educational platforms out there that support managers to be able to make decisions on knowing if their pilots are field ready, if they're truly proficient, not just current or up to date on their 107, but are they really capable of navigating complex environments, sticking to systems, and providing consistent and reliable results for the company or drone team that they work with? Now, what happens when you've got 4 or 5 pilots and you need to manage all that? Props has what you need to support drone programs and drone teams. Whether you're augmenting an existing business or you have your own business, Props is really built to provide chronologically navigable content that's going to take any pilot from zero to hero across numerous verticals. So let's say you need a great all-in-one pilot. Fantastic. You got to check out the Props Commander program. Maybe you're interested in having your pilots create orthomosaics. Maybe they need to be able to do some 3D modeling. Props Mapper is built just for you. Or maybe you're in energy and you're an ESG and you really need to focus on training your pilots to do solar inspections quarterly to maintain your robust profits and dividends. Well, then you got to check out the Props Solar program. Whichever vertical you're in, you'll find that there's a Props program to help you scale and maintain and build a drone team or program that will truly deliver for you time and time again. Check it out, propsflightschool.com.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Paul. Justin here again from Castleton, Vermont. I recently sent in a podcast asking a couple questions regarding real estate and questions of that nature and going into the businesses. But my question for you is today, I have several avenues that I have linked for my business, and what I mean by linked is advertised on Facebook, Instagram, and Google. But I'm getting a lot of calls now from agencies that are trying to boost my business per se by wanting me to pay X amount of dollars per month to rank me up on the highest point of Google and be able to be searched by using different methods like Siri and things like that. And I was wondering if that's something I could potentially do on my own without having to pay the $190 that they want per month. I just feel like that's kind of a waste of money, or it could be most likely a gimmick. So my question is it possible for me to actually rank up, obviously, with like Google and things like that, and Apple Maps and stuff like that? Because I am able to be found on Google. I can search that up and find it myself, but I don't see any reason to be paying $190 something for that. So just asking your opinion, and I love your guys' podcast. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate your question very, very much. We look forward to getting into it here shortly. And if you have a question, go to askdroneu.com, just like Justin did. We would love to hear from you. We need to hear from you because the show is about you, and without your questions, it doesn't continue. Not that I'm worried about that, because there's so many questions to be asked. But anyways, we want to hear from you. Askdroneu.com.
Mm-hmm. By the way, quick little tidbit before we get into this question. Thanks to one of our great friends and DroneU members, Mr. Tom Powers, we have confirmed that the Mavic 3 Enterprise is coming. This might be DJI's strategy in replacing the Phantom, but we'll have more on that later. So, okay, SEO. Before we get into all this, he mentions Apple Maps kind of at the end of that question. Is it just me, or does Apple Maps suck?
I don't think it's just you. No, I've tried it and I didn't stay very long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Google's great, but Google also has their good days and bad days. It seems like every other software update, we either get a cool new feature or we kind of digress. And I say that because ever since we moved up here, I updated to the most recent app, and it takes me the most obtuse ways to get to places.
Kidding.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So either way,
nothing's perfect.
No, it's not. And I think Google Maps can be a really great driver of business for you, but that's going to be leveraging your existing clients, making sure that you're getting those reviews on Google. And you want to make sure when you do get reviews on Google that people post pictures and post more than, I think it's 25 words, because that's going to really trick the algo to say this person was very passionate about their experience here because they wrote more, they provided media, they really liked it.
Right.
So don't just try to get 5-star reviews, try to get detailed reviews where you ask, like, what did we really do for you that you enjoyed, In fact, if you want to know the perfect model for reviews, just look at the Chinese review factory groups on Facebook that have recently been shut down, because they really nailed it. They're like, make sure you say some particular specific point you like, maybe something you don't like, and then provide a photo of it in real world. I'm like, wow, guys. Wow. Talk about
There's the formula.
Yeah, they're right there. Yeah. Okay. SEO. What is it? Search engine optimization. Now, he's talking about this group. Rob, we've been through this song and dance ourselves.
We have.
$190 a month. That's way cheaper than what someone was asking us to pay.
Well, but sometimes you get what you pay for.
Which is
right.
A perfect lead up into what are you getting for it, right?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Because what is rank? Rank is essentially how fast does your website load? How many keywords do you perform on? And then how many links or how credible is the information that you put out? It's essentially like social credit system, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't like putting it in those terms, but carry on.
I don't either. But if you think about
it is.
Our credit system, our FICO scores really is a social credit system.
Yeah.
And it's very flawed. So,
anywho,
if I were president, the first thing I would do is legally make it impossible for any HOA to have any impact on anyone's credit score, because there's just too much damn emotion involved. I have not had this issue myself. I've just seen it with other people.
Executive order number 1.
Well, actually, that would be after I never mind. Okay. So, all right. I digress. No politics. So rank is how fast, how many keywords, how credible. Now, what are you getting for this $190 a month? Are you getting a certain number of backlinks to your website? Because that's what we mean by how many links and how credible. And it's not just how many backlinks that you're getting. It's the quality of those backlinks.
Which, yeah, there's a lot that goes in even to what quality means, right? In terms of backlinks, number one, as natural as possible, meaning somebody sees your stuff, likes it, and decides to link to it in something that they've done. Mm-hmm. And the better score their website has, the greater value that link has. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Bingo.
But at the same time, it's simple. The formula you laid out is perfect.
Well, and I think you could supercharge the formula with things like PR releases, because that helps getting lots of quality links. There are ways to kind of supercharge and boost this, but you got to create the engine first. And in fact, as I wrote this out, I was like, I need to get back into doing this myself for us. So thanks for asking the question. Did you say no, you don't?
Yes.
GFY. Grateful for you, Rob. So that said, okay, what is the way to still have a fast website, still get lots of keywords, and ensure that you're getting backlinks and they're credible? Well, number one, the way to do this, to create an SEO-rich website, obviously there's a formula. You can go through classes online about setting up your pages, but let me just break it down in 30 seconds for you. Any page on your website, I want you to think about writing those pages in copywriting rules. So let's say that I make a sentence about Rob's business that's a drone service provider, helping inspections, mapping, and aerial media. No, 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 and no. Copywriting rules. What's Rob's fake business name going to be? Can we come up with a name?
Bobbert Air.
Okay.
Bobert Air. I don't know if that's fair because there actually is a representative here named Bobert, but go ahead.
Bobert Air. Aerial media, video, and technical, I would even say aerial media and photogrammetric deliverables. Make it as short as possible, okay? Because the title on your page has to have the same type of words in the first header on your page, which you typically start any page with a bold block title or header of like going over Bob Burdick's, drone services, or aerial media and deliverables by Bob's drone service. Okay. Short, simple. And then in the actual, body, you have to make sure that those words appear at least 3 times in separate places, because that's honestly the hack to getting your SEO to do anything on your web pages. People really try to put a lot of information on there, and it's just got to be quick, easy, seamless navigation, make it beautiful. And in the alt text of every single image that you upload to a page, make sure it has those same keywords that are the title of the page. There's the formula, okay? Now, how do you actually do what this company is going to be planning for you to do? If you write articles, let's say on a weekly basis, and you know the article formula, and you are capable of keeping up consistently with this, and you have your own images, you link to other articles, you can actually do what this company is doing for you yourself. So obviously in the formula of, is this service that has come to you and said, hey, we're going to help you.
You're contemplating or bringing up. First
question, what are you getting? Okay, you're getting backlinks. Okay, how many? What's the quality? Okay, how are you going to help me with my SEO? And then how are you getting backlinks? Because backlinks from Google are good, but there's only so many you can get. So the way to really hack the system of SEO is also identifying, are you a drone service provider in Philly? Okay, if you're in Philly, your SEO is now regional. So if you're writing articles, think of something like what to know when hiring pilots in Philadelphia. You've got to put yourself in the shoes of a potential client, right? If I want to hire a drone pilot, what am I going to be researching? Drone rules in Philadelphia, PA. What to know when hiring a drone pilot in Philly. Drone restrictions in Philly, right? There's 3 articles for you right there, because it's regionally based. It's keywords that are going to be focused on your site, and you can inform, and make sure you do it objectively. You can inform your audience and showcase your value without bragging, which is really important. Mm-hmm. Something that took me a long time to learn. So for an action plan, obviously you have to determine what are you getting for $190 a month? And also, how is that measurable? Because something that you and I have seen is you might get this big initial kick and then it drops off like a rock. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to be doing over time? Okay, what how much time would it take you to accomplish the same thing? If you're writing articles and you're backlinking other sites, you're creating backlinks. But then if you take those articles and publish them in a particular place like ezines or whatever service, right, you're now going to have lots and lots and lots and lots of backlinks. Let's say that, here's a good example. Let's say that the drone rules changed in September of 2023, which they're going to. Okay. What to know when flying drones in Philly when the rules change. Okay, flight over people. If I fly super small drones, I can get shots that no one else legally is allowed to get. They still get them. But there's not going to be any liability in it, right? If I fly a smaller drone. Well, what's the cons and the pros of that? Cons, not as good of high quality video. Pro, you have media and a unique engaging imagery that other people don't have, which is essentially what you're looking for in social media anyway. So you write that article, you use the formula, you post your own photos. Never, ever, ever post other people's photos. Just don't do it. Even if you have permission, my opinion, it's not worth it. Because you might have permission from someone and then you might post something and they're like, I don't agree with that person. And they can't use my shit anymore. And it's like, okay, I thought we were bigger than that. So that said, always use your own photos whenever you're posting this stuff. And for our DSPs out there, have someone take a damn photo of you. Let me give you the formula. You in the photo, drone in the air, subject that you're working on in the background, slightly bokeh'd, slightly out of focus. Okay, that's going to perform the best for you. Also include the alt text on that photo and then make a plan to try to guest blog for other people and write for them and backlink to your own site. And then on top of this plan, if you add a new web listing, meaning you go to skylink.com, create a listing for your business. You go to, maybe there's a local Chamber of Commerce and they can give you a listing on their website that backlinks to you. Only do it if they've got high quality. You know, you want to work with people who are also implementing this themselves. So that said, I feel like that might be the most valuable show when it comes to SEO that we've ever done. We did an SEO and sales class last year, and it was like 4 or 5 months long, and I did a meeting almost every week, and I ended up giving way more value. And Rob, I'm thinking, you know, we have another class that we could launch right now if you think about it, which is SEO for your website, because I did about a 3-hour long stint of exactly what to do, how frequently, how consistently, all the formulas, and also how to use plugins to make sure that your formulas that you implemented are working properly, which is through a plugin that I use called Yoast. So
yeah, and there are plenty of sites out there where you can go check the value or the strength of another site and whether or not you want your stuff linked from them, which is an important part of this. But, you know, as you talk about this and you kind of add all that up, for a given month, I mean, how many hours are you talking about? It could add up to a substantial amount, really, particularly if you're trying to keep the pages on your website clean and loading fast. You've got to have at least somebody on your team, if not you, that's evaluating that on an ongoing basis.
You can have that done on Fiverr.com, by the way.
Yeah, so there are other tools, but then you're managing all that, right? So
Time.
You add up the management of it, writing the articles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what is your time worth? Is it $100 an hour, $50 an hour, $25 an hour? You've got to figure that out for yourself. And then using whatever formula that generates, determine whether or not it makes sense to try one of these services. Because I will say there are legitimate people out there that do it.
100%.
Right?
It's just, you got to know, what are you actually getting?
You do.
There's so much hype, like he's alluding to. And so it's kind of like the finance world, that there's a lot of vernacular that you don't quite understand. And because you don't quite understand it, they kind of take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so obviously you want somebody who's got a great history, who's helped other people, that you can document, verify, probably even talk to. You would want to do that, I think, before hiring anybody like this. Honestly, $200 a month for this is pretty low. So I'm a little skeptical about that, but it could just be the team that they have in place and where they are in the world, frankly, and how much they're paying them to do some of this stuff. But you also need to be very, very careful about, for example, having other people write articles for you, because depending on where they're from, it only takes a couple of words in an article or a couple of twists of a sentence, because English is not their first language, for it to be like, oh, that wasn't written by this person. That was written by somebody in blah, blah, blah. I don't want to disparage any countries because we work with a lot of them and there's a lot of great people all over the world.
And lost in translation comes to mind.
Yeah, for sure. And, there's just little buzzwords that we've grown to see. And if I see a particular word used in an article or in a response, et cetera, I'm like, oh, that is not that person that I thought I was talking to because he would have never said it that way. And the same thing can come through in the articles, right? And so you need to be careful about that. But that said, man, by the time you add all this up and doing it well, if you can find the right people, which I'm convinced you can, then I don't want to discourage you from paying somebody to do it if you can.
Well, I think that goes to a point of going through this process, you're going to figure out how much time it's going to really take to do this stuff.
Yeah.
This is the formula that's worked for us, by the way. I think there are a couple of different strategies, but there's not many, maybe 3 to 5, but not many. And so this is going to help you also paint a picture of what it takes to get the results and whether it's worth it to delegate it out or not. Because if this is not your strong point, if writing is not your strong point, well, then it might be in your best benefit to delegate it out. But at least you now know or have a better sense of what you are going to get from these services, which is kind of goes into a rule that Rob and I have created, which is that we don't delegate anything out that we don't understand. Because if you don't understand it, then you're going to be running into problems. Those timelines are going to be exacerbated, and so is the money that goes into it.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. But perhaps, I don't know if I like this or not, but I'll say it out loud anyways, and perhaps you give it a try for a couple months just to learn and to go through this process that Paul just shared with you and at least get a better understanding, take a couple of classes. And my guess for most people is that you're not going to want to be doing this for yourself because it's not why you created a drone business, right? The passion isn't in the SEO. I mean, if it is, maybe you go be one of those agencies.
Seriously.
But if you really like it and you're really good at it and you get fast at it, sure, then it's not that big of a deal, I suppose, for you to do it. But really, when you're working a business, you want to focus on what you're good at and get better at it, and then fill your team with people that are better at these other elements than you are. I mean, my whole goal in being in a business is to have everybody be smarter and better than me. It seems to happen pretty easily. Just kidding. But seriously.
Not sure about that.
Seriously, you want people that are really good at what you're less good at, is the way I see it. And that's how you're going to scale and grow faster.
That's how Steve Jobs did it.
Absolutely.
So
he was a motivator and a rallier and obviously smart, and then I guess he kicked people in the butt too sometimes. But anyways.
Yeah. I guess he dropped the ball on Apple Maps.
Yeah, I guess so. Never have quite gotten that right for whatever reason anyways, at least in my opinion. But yeah. I hope that's helpful. I know we're kind of in the middle here a little bit because it depends on you. But if I had to give sort of a more definitive answer, I'd say you probably are not going to want to do this on your own, at least not long term.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess because it even though it's simple, there's a lot to keep up with and it can be a chore.
It can. And once your business starts going and scaling, you got to ask yourself, where is my time best spent? And this may or may not be it. So on that bombshell, I think that's going to do it for us today. If you have a question, go to askdroneu.com. One of the questions I would love to kind of hear is, we were recently at a drone STEM program, and one of these high schoolers was like, what's the best drone to get right now? And I listened to the way that his instructor answered it, and it made me cringe because I'm like, dude, you're setting this kid up for failure, man. But I did not step in. I did not say anything. It was not my place. But I would love to hear that question, but I would also love to hear what would you be looking for in these drones, because sometimes I'll call it the veteran pilots might be looking for something that these newer people in the industry, I mean, like even 3, 4, 5 years old, might not even be thinking about. So those are some questions I would love to hear as well. And I think that the end of this year is going to be very interesting for the drone industry as a whole, at least as I see it. I know that we're scheduled to do something like 5 new Don't Crash courses. We just finished the Anafi AI. That's a great all-in-one drone, probably the closest competitor to the Phantom. Still not a Phantom, but but they also might have kind of changed the way that we think about the systems that make drones work. Imagine a world where flyaways don't exist. Well, does that exist when a drone operates off of cellular? So these are great questions to have, But that said, we do really appreciate everyone here. If you are a Drone U member, we do appreciate it. We also are going to be adding that new Don't Crash course into membership. And I think, Rob, we should make an executive decision right now just to take some of that material that we did in these virtual classes and put it into class form on Drone U. I think it could be really valuable. It's not the best production by any means, but at the same time, the information is what matters. So it's killer information.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I'd rather have less production value, more content value than vice versa.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's an executive decision here that we made on Ask Drone U. Thanks again for joining us as always. My name is Paul.
I'm Rob.
This is Ask Drone U.